You are listening to Match Betting Insights, brought to you by OddsMonkey, the number one match betting provider in the world. This and all our podcasts are available by our official podcast provider, Podbean, and all the top podcast providers, including iTunes, Acast, and TuneIn. Over the coming weeks and months, we are going to be covering all aspects of match betting. It will hopefully become a piece of your match betting life. Today's podcast is Match Betting Still Possible and Profitable in a Crisis. Joining me as ever is OddsMonkey Steve T. How are you doing, Steve?
I'm good, Graham. How are you doing?
Oh, coping, mate, coping. So just a couple of housekeeping notes before we delve into the podcast today. We're going to be discussing many things, including the all-new Casino Hub, which is part of OddsMonkey's premium service. And on that great news, we have a little offer for you. If you haven't had a chance to try out OddsMonkey's premium service just yet, then if you'd like to use the offer code PODOFFER, that's PODOFFER, which gets you 10 full days of OddsMonkey Premium for just £1 and gives you access to all the guides and tools and everything you will ever need for match betting. So on to today's episode. And Steve, we all know it's a difficult time for everyone in the world, not just in match betting. And all aspects of life has been impacted, and match betting isn't any different. But it's not all bad news for match bettors, is it?
It's not all bad news. You know, it has been affected because we've seen a lot of the major sports that we would ordinarily bet on, such as obviously the Premier League and all the UK Irish horse racing, disappear for the moment. However, there is still, the good news is there's still money to be made and there's still profits to be had. So it's just a case of making sure you know what you're looking for and the best way of going about it. But yeah, it's not a great time for anyone. However, there's still some bit of side hustle money there to be made.
Yeah, so that's why we're doing the podcast today, isn't it, mate? We're hoping to give people a little bit of an insight into what they should be doing, what they can be doing, what things to avoid, and what new things there are. So let's hope we can point them in the right direction during this time. Hopefully 6 weeks, but maybe longer, and we'll see where we go. We're going to be looking at things like sign-ups and reloads and casinos today, but just a little bit of a helping hand. So basically, Steve, match betting still profitable and possible, as the title suggests. That is the case, isn't it?
Yeah, it certainly is. I mean, like I said, the landscape's undeniably changed at the moment. Hope, albeit temporarily, certain sports will be back at different points in time. They're in talks about getting racing back sooner rather than later, obviously behind sort of closed doors, but it could be a good few weeks off yet. But with the outbreak of the coronavirus, we just need to, it means the landscape's changed. It just means that we need to adapt with it. We need to move where the current offerings are and make sure we're sort of looking at the right things and, don't be stuck in the sort of the routine. People, when it comes to match betting and, well, a lot of things in life, they get stuck in sort of a groove where, every Monday they maybe look for Premier League games to place accas on through the week, or they look for Champions League games. They look.
You get your weekly betting club things, and that's amazing. It's really knocked everyone off their routine, hasn't it? And as you said, that's a major thing, Steve, isn't it? Get into that routine, and I say, no matter for how long this is going to go on for, it's just adapting, isn't it?
Yeah, so, just as a quick example, I suppose, Paddy Power for quite a few months, let's say, at least, if you go back through the daily offer calendar on sort of the OddsMonkey site, you'll see that every Saturday they've tended to pick a UK horse race whereby if you back a horse in that race, you get money back if it finishes second, third or fourth in the race. Obviously, that's not available on UK horse racing. However, that type of offer has been available every single day, sort of for the past week or so, as the racing's changed, and that's been available on things like sort of South African racing and mainly sort of US horse racing. So on a daily basis, you're getting opportunities in a race whereby you can back a horse in the race, and if it finishes second, third or fourth, you get your money back as a free bet. And these horse races are also available to lay at the exchanges as well. So it's kind of business as normal in a way. It's just that instead of backing a horse at Wincanton, you might be backing a horse at Gulfstream or one of the other American horse race courses that I can't remember the name of now.
There's some fanciful names out there, isn't there?
Yeah, there's one today which I can't remember the name of it. I'd never really heard of it about a week ago, to be honest. It's the Will
when you
Will
got
Rogers.
US, South Africa, Australia, and when you see that when some bookmakers who just put the names of the venue down, it's hard to know where they're from, isn't it? Sometimes.
Yeah, I mean, sometimes you see the name of the venue of the racecourse. I thought it was the name of a horse, to be honest. I mean, the one today it's money back as a free bet if your horse finishes second, third, or fourth in the 7:45. So that's in the evening, which gives plenty of time to get your bets on, especially if we're all sat at home and staying safe as we should be. And the course is called the Will Rogers course, which again could be the name of a horse.
To me, that one, there's been some real classics going ahead, and obviously we've got some even with the virus, everyone staying indoors. We've got different things going on like the quarantine and FIFA tournament, and eSports is becoming a bit more active. I know we're going to speak a bit more in the podcast about it today, but eSports is something this new one becoming new on the scene, isn't it, with match betting?
Yeah, I mean, it's been around sort of in the fringes, let's say, for quite a while, probably, at least over 12 months. I mean, Betway has had a regular weekly offer on eSports for quite some time, like a regular weekly bet offer, a bit of a weekly bet club just dedicated to eSports. And for example, if you go on the Betway site, you'll see, when you go on any bookmaker site, you always have the different sort of columns, the different verticals within the site. So, you have the sports section, you have the casino, and sometimes you have Vegas and games and bingo and poker and all this type of thing. On Betway, for example, they do have an eSports section, which is just, as you'd imagine, totally dedicated to that. Now, it's been on the fringes. eSports, you may or may not have heard of it. It stands for electronic sports.
Not to be confused with eSports, which all the bookmakers do as well. Steve. But what I said, we'll go into that a bit more detail as well, won't we?
We will, but it's been on the fringes. It is now, in light of there being, so few regular sports or regular tournaments that we'd normally bet on within sports. It's coming more to the forefront, and we'll be seeing many, many more offers and opportunities arising over the coming sort of weeks, I'm sure.
And that's where we see our two clubs, Man City and Middlesbrough, both got their own eSport players, haven't they now? They're like professional eSport players, and that's where this comes into it as well. So when you see on Twitter or club websites where someone's got their eSports player, then you can maybe go and back your own club on them. But but take your emotion out. Don't go back in them as well. And that's the thing about match betting as well, Steve. We've got to keep the emotion out. But yeah, when you see the official eSports players, that's what these guys are doing, isn't it? They are playing for their livelihoods on these eSports, and you can back them. Yeah,
the actual mechanics of eSports, it's I suppose like any other team. They do tend to be sort of split up into sort of teams. So and they have tournaments, so the teams all play each other in a tournament. A la, let's say, the Champions League or the FA Cup or whatever.
I said with eSports, it's such a massive field thing. We're talking about potentially 30 to 50 different computer games, isn't it? That's what we're talking about, isn't it? It's not just one thing. It's a plethora out there, isn't it?
Yeah, there's just the more that I've looked into it, obviously in recent weeks, it's just absolutely mind-boggling. Sort of the breadth and the depth of it. I mean, because I've seen over the past, 12 months ago, I saw sort of these stadiums in sort of Seoul in Korea and, over in China, full of, 10,000 plus, 20,000 plus in these stadiums watching live eSports taking place. I mean, it is really sort of big business, with £1 million plus sort of payouts for winners.
Well, even technically, Fortnite, the big Fortnite game is technically an e-sport, isn't it? Because you can bet on that. And we saw a British youngster, didn't he? He took home the runner-up prize over $10 million or whatever. But so technically things like Fortnite as well. But so in terms of match betting, Steve, getting back to the basics, so people who are new to it, obviously we've got, just a reminder them, we've got plenty of sign-up webinars for them as well in the podcast. But for newbies who are listening to us right now, all the sign-ups, etc., it is still possible, isn't it, to start from afresh today and make the profits, isn't it? That is still possible.
It is, yeah. And, can't sort of sugarcoat it as such. It's exactly the same as it was a month ago, because it's not. Yeah, the landscape has changed. However, the overall sort of value, / profit to be made from the sign-up offers is largely unchanged from how it was a month ago. So it's just a case that instead of placing bets at Ascot, you may be looking to place some bets at US race courses, which at the minute I don't necessarily see any major sort of issue with that, because at the end of the day, people like to have a flutter, especially in the UK. And in light of there being really not a lot else to bet on sports wise, aside from a couple of football leagues still running, you got Belarusian and Nicaraguan, there's a lot of horse racing still going on, and horse racing is such a popular thing for people to bet on in this country that you're not necessarily going to be doing anything to raise too many alarm bells, with the bookmakers. So it's just a case of, instead of looking for your UK race courses.
How careful, Steve, did they have to be with? Obviously, we're talking there about the football, the Belarusian and the Nicaraguan. I think racing is, everyone loves a racing and fix, and I think all the bookmakers are saying now that the upturn they've seen in the American, US, Australian racing, that's expected. But when you're getting people back in the Nicaraguan and Belarusian Premier League, that might still raise a couple of flags in places, so people have to be maybe a little bit wary still of those.
Yeah, I think so. I think that would be the safest route. I mean, if you receive a free bet, perhaps that can only be used on football, then by all means, use a free bet.
Because there are some bookies pushing the Belarusian one, especially out there, because it's still during our time frame, the European time zone. It fits in.
I mean, I'd be looking at steering clear from any from the Nicaraguan football league, any South American at any point really, because there's no real reason why sort of UK punters would be betting on that. And in ordinary times, we wouldn't be even, we were saying stay clear of Belarusian as well. You may get away with the odd bet on it. I think, personally speaking, if I'm looking to place any bets this week or next week, if I've got a choice between the Belarusian football and eSports and, US, South African, Australian horse racing, I'm probably going to lean towards the sort of the US racing and the eSports sort of side of things. And that would be where, I'd be putting my bets. Like I say, if you do have, you may have free bets that have got credited from last week, and perhaps it has to be used on football only, then don't let it go to waste. Whack your free bet on some of those matches, but I wouldn't be looking to use it to clear the sign up offers so much at the minute. I'd be going with the horse racing or eSports, to be honest.
Yeah, and obviously, what's the liability in terms of Betfair and Smarkets? Obviously, they'll have increased dramatically with the Belarusian, Nicaraguan stuff. But is it still, obviously, the horse racing is still more there's a lot of liability still within those? And
I mean, some of the races can be a bit bitty, so you might have sort of 3 or 4 different meetings on at the same day in America, for example, and you may find that one of the race courses isn't really getting a lot of bets because maybe it's just not a very sort of top class field out there. But on any given day, one of those courses will have sort of decent field and decent runners and riders out, and that you'll see that will tend.
You'll soon see which one it is.
Yeah, and the easier way to sort of check that as well is if you go to the sort of daily offer calendar, there'll be the horse racing thread, which you can click through to get to the community. Once you're in the community there, you'll have a list of all the horse races and all the offers on the horse races, and included in sort of bold font next to some of the races will highlight where the best offers are for the day. So if you look at that, you'll notice that the best offers tend to be at one race course each day. So when you're looking to place your bets, whether these could be sign-up offers, if you have a quick look at that racing thread, you'll see, okay, right, everything's in bold today for Will Rogers, the Will Rogers race course in the US, and that would be the race course that I'd focus on for that particular day, just to make sure you've got enough money to back and lay against without having too many big gaps.
The forum's a big part, isn't it? Especially during the crisis at the moment. The forum's a great place, isn't it, to swap ideas with people and let any concerns you've got go in there, and there'll be someone willing to help. If not the OddsMonkey staff, there's always someone in there. And remember the pod offer, use that code to get the 10 days free premium for just £1, which you need to access.
Yeah, just one little caveat I'd like to throw in there, Graeme, which is when it comes to anyone starting out and looking to do the sign-ups, obviously I've alluded to the fact that I'd be leaning towards sort of the eSports and racing side of things at the minute. Most of the sign-up offers when you're getting started are bet X, get X, i.e., you might bet £10 and receive £10 or £20 free, that type of thing. If you work your way through that list, you happen to sort of, because you've got a lot of time on your hands and you manage to rattle through them quite quickly. As you go down the list, you'll find that things can get a little bit more involved. There is a section called sort of rollover type of bonuses, whereby you maybe bet a certain amount of money and you receive, let's say you receive £50, but instead of, it's not so much a free bet, it's money that you have to bet several times. So you might have to bet that £50, let's say, times 5. So you need to place £250 worth of bets until it becomes real cash. Now, those type of things at the minute, I would just be a little bit careful with those and probably sort of put them on the back burner just for a couple of weeks, because you don't want to sort of get into the rhythm of get caught up with too many of those. If Australian horse racing closes down tomorrow and you're in the midst of doing all that, because you don't want to create any potential issues. However, with that being said, if you maybe start out, if you are keen to get through one of those, then the best place sort of maybe to begin with it would be to then maybe look at the eSports and continue with that, because eSports, the very nature of it, they're all, let's say, working from home at the minute, so that's not going to be going anywhere anytime soon, which is great news.
And that's good that you mentioned eSports, because we're just coming on to that topic anyway, Steve.
Seamless.
Oh, beautiful. And we do want to emphasize, don't we, first of all, there's a difference between eSports and virtual sports. If you're new to match betting and you don't know anything about this, it's a good thing, because in some ways, Steve, isn't it, that you don't have any emotion tied to either of these things, and there are offers for both. But in terms of match betting, when it comes to odds match it's eSports. Virtual sports, you will get offers, won't we? But there is a difference between the two, isn't there? People have to be careful with this.
Yeah, it's just, it can be very easy, especially if you're just trying to sort of jump straight in and get involved. You might just see virtual sports and, your brain plays the little trick on you and you just assume that's the same as eSports, electronic sports. There is a difference. I mean, essentially, eSports are computer games, which you or your children, depending on your age, people play the computer games on the PlayStations, etc. And these may be running around like Counter-Strike and stuff, where you're running around and shooting people, or you might be sort of driving cars or playing FIFA or whatever, all these things, whatever it may be. But the point is that these are computer games played by people. And
it's a human on the other end, isn't it?
There's a human controlling it against another human playing the same game, and whoever, let's say, gets the most points, whoever wins the race, whatever it may be, whatever the target is for that particular game, whoever gets to it first wins. So you're betting on one person versus another, almost like a game of chess. You're betting on there's two humans involved. When it comes to virtual sport, the virtual sports has many different things within it. So you have football, horse racing, greyhounds, you have
boxing,
sometimes boxing, you have motorsports, you have even have rugby league on some of them, things like that. Basically lots and lots of different sports that you'd see ordinarily. However, these are sort of random, almost like a random number generator, but by algorithms. These are computer graphics on a screen. So before the race starts, you might have 10 horses, all with different odds and different colours, and you pick your horse and you place your bet on that horse to win. And then when the race goes, you see the race unfold and you see which horse takes the lead. And there is no human element to it other than you placing your bets. So there's quite a big difference between the two.
Some of them claim to have algorithms that you can work stuff out, don't they? Because this weekend we've got the virtual Grand National, which is being run on the day of the National. ITV Racing are broadcasting it, aren't they? And they have put in the field that would have been running around Aintree, and they've also got a match. They've got a race of champions later on as well, which features Red Rum and Tiger Roll, etc. But yeah, they'll be running that this weekend, and they'll probably try and have the algorithm in there where Tiger Roll will be favourite, and is it Delta Work might be second favourite, something like that. And I imagine there'll be quite a bit of bookmaker interest in this as well, Steve.
Undoubtedly,
Sure.
I think undoubtedly there will be a bookmaker interest, and I think also undoubtedly there will be a lot of punter interest. And I don't know what the current records are for bets on a virtual horse race.
I think virtual sport betting. I think the biggest one was. I'm sure it was a boxing match. I will stand corrected, no doubt, as I often am. But I think there was I don't know. Was it a Mike Tyson? I can't remember what it was. It was Champion of Champions boxing fights. I think might have been Tyson v somebody or something. But there was not so long ago there was a Champion of Champions virtual boxing match, which saw a lot of interest, especially at Vegas end. On that, but yeah, as I said, there's the thing about virtual sports is you can do that. You can have England's '66 winning team playing Gareth Southgate's team now and stuff like that. Virtual sports gives a lot more. They can do some very, very interesting things with eSports, can't they? Which appeals to the masses, like the national.
Yeah, and I think, like you say, in terms of the bookmakers, fingers and toes crossed. I mean, at the minute, just for example, just on virtual sports today, just had a quick look at the daily offer calendar before we started recording, and there are currently 69 offers available on the calendar, and 8 of those are virtual sports offers. So, just over 10% is virtual sports. I mean, I'll challenge you to go back through any week in the past year to find 10% of the offers being virtual sports. So that just shows that, this is also on the rise at the minute.
And that's why we're talking about both, isn't it? Because obviously eSports is the one that is in the odds matcher now.
Yeah.
If you go and check the odds matcher, eSports are in there. Virtual sports aren't in there. But we're talking about virtual sports because they are a massive chunk of the offers now. So they both are applicable to match betting, aren't they, Steve? Now?
Yeah, there's money to be had from both of them, and the strategies are all sort of laid out. You just need to go in and follow. Quite a lot of the virtual sports offers, the difference between the two types of offers, what you'll tend to find is the virtual sports offers, because they can't be laid off at an exchange, they fall under what's known as sort of advantage play. If you go into the training section and search for advantage, you'll find the relevant guide on that. Or if you look at any offer, you'll find a link to what advantage play is as well. But because they can't be laid off, you're sort of you're putting some money out to get some money back in return for free. But the maths behind it all sort of works out, and it's a positive expected value for us over the long term. Now, when it comes to esports, because they're available in the odds matcher, that means that there are applicable markets that the exchanges to lay against. Therefore, the normal principles of match betting apply. So when you're looking at results in the odds matcher, if you see anything over 100% in the rating column, in red, it's red for a reason. Don't be choosing that. Stay away from ARBs, which anything over 100% is. But yeah, esports, normal match betting, the rules apply. Follow the safety sort of instructions from there. Virtual sports, they sort of fall into the advantage play, but there is still some good money to be had from those if you follow the strategies laid out in the guides.
And the advantage, I think, of these two, Steve, as well, is it does take the emotion out as well, which is a massive thing for match betting, isn't it? Where if you're doing an odds match on one of our clubs, maybe you're doing odds match on City to beat Man United or vice or get beat off them, it does tinge a little bit, although I know you're far too professional, so that gets you. But with esports, you won't get that, or most 99% of 100 people won't get any emotion when doing that, which is a good thing.
Yeah, there's pretty much going to be, virtual sports. I mean, they all have such, well, especially the horses, they have as crazy names as they do in real life. There's going to be no allegiance because you probably never see the same horse come around twice. But the esports as well, I mean, some of the teams have, wonderful names, and then the players within the teams are spread all around the world. And, let's be fair, you've probably never heard of, the vast majority of us have never either heard of the team or heard of the player, or maybe even heard of the game that they're playing. However, as long as they fit in with a decent sort of match betting opportunity where we can use the odds matcher to help sort of give us the info, we can just back and lay and get on with it and, get some profits out of the bottom. There's going to be no sort of allegiances there per se.
Mm. And how careful do we have to be with Steve? Obviously, this esports market is going to be a massive one. It's just going to get bigger and bigger. But in terms of how the bookmakers view us, in terms of maybe blocking accounts and stuff, we're not entirely sure how they're going to react to people just yet, are we?
No, I've got to be perfectly clear with that. It's eSports. Like I say, it's been around on the fringes for quite a while as it's been building momentum. Obviously, in light of everything that's going on sort of in the world with the coronavirus and the cancellation of many sports, it's now coming to the forefront, and there will be the betting action on it. I'll love to see the statistics maybe in a month or so's time, but I'm sure that it's increasing sort of tenfold. Now, how the bookmakers react to that in terms of people using it, as part of their regular betting thing, remains to be seen. It's some somewhat uncharted territory. It may be perfectly fine because at the end of the day, the bookmakers are going to be feeling the pinch at the minute because they've suddenly lost however many hundreds of millions get bet each weekend from the horse racing, Premier League, Champions League each week, and all these type of things. So, I think they're going to be clamoring over themselves just to get any money in. So hopefully there's going to be a little bit of, a good bit of lenience there, rather than looking to restrict people. And kind of on that point, I've had 2 phone calls this week actually from bookmakers. One from Unibet, who I got gubbed with, whenever they merged with Stan James, which is a couple of years ago now, I think.
A few years ago now.
Good few years ago. I got gubbed then as part of the merger because I was gubbed with Stan James. They merged, and then Unibet said, "You're gubbed. You can't have any free bets or promotions," which is very kind of them. And I also had a phone call from Sky Bet, who I got gubbed with a few years ago as well. Now, both of those have phoned me up and offered me free bets and bonuses for depositing a tenner, with really favourable terms at my end, which I've gladly accepted and done.
Yes.
So that's just a small bit of anecdotal evidence, but those are 2 accounts that I've been gubbed with for a good few years, and they've suddenly sought to reach out to me to try and get me back on the site with promotions. So on that basis, I'm hopeful that betting on new things like esports, they shouldn't be sort of rushing to gub you because they are desperate to get people to bet with them. So I think
interesting one. Yeah, we are doing another podcast later in the year on gubbing or blocked by the bookmakers, as I like to say. So we'll come back to that. Yeah, we will be covering that in more detail later on. But it's a very interesting anecdote. And in terms of people who've completed the sign-up offers and may be victims of that as well, Steve, there's still possibilities out there for people in there weekly betting clubs, etc. As you said, it's not as easy, but it's still all possible, isn't it, with some more traditional offers, the reloads especially.
Yeah. When it comes to the reloads, I mean, at the minute, there's still the weekly bet clubs to go at. Again, as we've sort of talked about earlier in the podcast, that you need to be just looking at different things to place your bets on to qualify for the bet clubs. Some of them are going to be problematic. If you've got things like the accumulator, where you need to place an accumulator and you're looking to lay it off sequentially, probably going to give that a miss for the minute. However, if it's just a case of bet X, bet a certain amount and get a free bet on, the next week, such as Sky Bet, for example, or Coral, that type of thing, those are the more straightforward, which you can certainly do. The weekly bet clubs, just having a quick look now on the OddsMonkey site, it's got the total weekly expected value from those at the minute is £53.45, which comes to a total monthly expected value. This is of £213.80 per month, which is, obviously still decent to have and to be aiming to get into your pockets at the minute. Looking at the sort of casino hub, just very quickly which is, the new sort of part within OddsMonkey.
Obviously, the one part of almost the world and match betting, which is totally unaffected, and if anything, has profited from this, is the casino. Obviously, we've done a separate podcast on this earlier in the year, and we're going to be recording another one this week on casinos for the next stage. But yeah, as you talk about the new casino hub as well, casino is even more fascinating aspect of match betting now.
Yeah, and OddsMonkey have moved sort of swiftly to put in place a casino hub, which sort of breaks down all of the offers and sort of segregates them from the other sort of sports and other related offers. And there are weekly bet clubs available with casino offers as well. And at the minute, that's worth £19.20 on average per week. There are reload offers. There's about £160 worth of reload offers available today. new account offers. There's over £600 available on there. So, overall, there's still...
People have to remember, don't they, Steve? Casino, if you've got an account with someone, a casino account more often than not is separate as well, isn't it? So if you've got a bookmaker account, it's not necessarily, it doesn't mean that you can't get a sign-up offer for the casino, does it?
Yeah, I mean, that tends to play out across most of them. I think there's a few exceptions off the top. It's been that long since I joined most of these places that obviously things may have changed.
It's always a double check, isn't it? Be careful. It's not so it's case, but you did.
Yeah.
Generally speaking, you do get the sign-up offers as well as the bookmaker one.
Yeah, I know for sure that if let's say you signed up for Paddy Power, for example, and you signed up doing the sports offer, if you pop over to the casino and go to the promotions tab, if you've never played in there before, within the promotions, you'll see an offer there for their casino sign-up offers. Again, you'll find a guide for that on the OddsMonkey site. Same with Betfair, same with NetBet and BetVictor and several others. You can sort of just jump.
It's the same with getting blocked and gubbed, isn't it? It's just because you might get one if you blocked it with the bookmaker, you can still get casinos, and vice versa. Casinos, you can still get the bookmaker as well. Obviously, some bookmakers do vary, but generally that's the thing, is that you still get access to the other one if you buy.
Yeah, it's a very, very good point, Graeme, actually. So that if you're listening to this and you're thinking, well, I got good, if you're thinking, well, I'm good with Paddy Power, I'm good with Betfair, or you're good with Sky Bet, or whoever it may be, that may be that you got restricted on the sports side of things. However, if you go into your sort of, log back into your account, head over to the game section, head over to the Vegas section, head over to the casino section, all these different sort of verticals, which are kind of the same thing. If you head over to those and look at the promotions page tab, then you probably find that you've got offers available to you. And if there are offers available, then get over to OddsMonkey, look at the daily offer calendar, look at the casino hub, look at the calendar within there for the reload offers, and you should find a sort of corresponding guide to go along with that. And if not, and you're unsure, just drop anyone in this forum, tag support in or email support@oddsmonkey.com and ask how's the best way to approach this, and you will get advice on what to do with it.
Yeah, I'll be there somewhere. Well, obviously, at the moment, there's so many new casino offers coming on board, isn't it? Take a little bit of time to catch up at times. But yeah, there's certainly plenty of ones there, isn't there? And as I said, we are going to be doing a podcast later in the week, aren't we, Steve, where we're going to be delving into a bit more depth in the casino, but we did one early in the year as well that people, it's still applicable to everyone who isn't into casinos, because casinos is one where you recommend after a few months of your match betting life, isn't it? It's not something that you can jump in with 2 feet, but everyone's here to help, and if you listen to the podcast, read the guides, it's very profitable if you do it correctly.
Yeah, it is. I mean, again, that advice pretty much rings true for, let's say, in the more ordinary of times, and it tends to follow that you start delving into casino after a couple of months, just due to the fact that if you're new to match betting and you're starting obviously working your way through the sports welcome sort of sign-up offers, then there's so many sports welcome offers to get through that it tends to take you a couple of months, to get through those offers in the first place. So by the time you get to the end, that's when you're ready for casino offers. Now, if you've perhaps done match betting in the past and you've already got a lot of the accounts open, then yeah, you can get involved with casino now. I mean, the same rules apply when you're doing any part of these processes. So if you're new to match betting, or whether you're slightly more experienced with it, and you're following, whether you're going to sign up for a sports offer or whether you're going to sign up for a casino offer, the main thing you've got to do is just follow the instructions on the website, and just follow them line by line, slowly. Just make sure you're doing exactly as you're told, and at the end of it, you should get the result that you're looking for. So, if you do decide to get involved with casino now, maybe a little bit earlier than you would ordinarily, that's fine. Just make sure you're following the instructions, and as long as you're following the instructions, you'll be okay. Over the medium and long term with everything, and you'll get to where you want to be with it. So it's just a case of following the strategies laid out, and everything else, all the maths and the probabilities and everything else, takes care of the rest.
As I said, the new casino hub is there, and that is part of OddsMonkey's premium service. Once again, just remind you that code POD offer, PODOFFER, and that gets you 10 full days of OddsMonkey premium, including many things other than the casino hub, but that is there for just £1. It gives you access to all the guides that we talked to throughout this process. So, Great stuff, Steve. As I said, we hope that's been of use to people today during this difficult time. We hope everyone listening is staying safe. Thank you for joining us. As I said, we've got a few more podcasts coming in the next few weeks, etc. There's one on casinos coming later this month. Later in April, I should say. But I said, Steve, thanks for joining us as well. I'm sure we're wishing everyone to stay safe, stay indoors, and what better thing to do whilst indoors, Steve, than match bet?
Yeah, well, absolutely. Yeah, thanks for joining us, everyone, and everyone. Yeah, stay home, stay safe, and yeah, wash your hands and all the rest of it. And hope everyone remains well.
Take care, guys. We'll catch you all very soon.